Welcome to another episode of the Finding Serenity in the Midst of Chaos podcast. Today, we are talking about the benefits of working with a coach. Well, we have a different episode today because today I'm going to be interviewing Ian and going to ask him how working with me as a coach benefited him in the past 4 years. And if you're in a place in life where some things are not starting to work and something doesn't feel right and you just can't seem to get out of it by yourself, this is the episode for you. So stay tuned. Hello, Ian.
Hello, July.
How are you today?
Well, I bet you're looking forward to this.
I am. I get to put you on the spot several times today.
For those of you that are regular viewers, listeners, you will know over the episodes that July likes to put me on the spot from time to time. Well, today is our opportunity to have a real good field day of doing that consistently throughout the episode. So,
that's good.
So sit back and watch me squirm my way through the next 20 minutes. Thanks, July.
Joking apart, really and truly, why is this episode for you? Is because people might think I'm a coach myself at work. I really, I know what I'm like. I don't have the time for this. Whatever the excuse and whatever the reasons you're coming up with in your mind not to have a coach in your life, this is the episode for you because you can't see what you can't see when you're in your own life. It's like a blind spot, and it takes someone else to see what you're not seeing, and that's the role of a coach. And you know what, Ian and I didn't even have essentially a coaching relationship as such, but just doing this podcast alone, and that's just the free content I'm giving away to all of you. Ian has incredible life lessons that he's learned, and I want to give him the opportunity to share this with you so that you can maybe identify with some of the things that he's saying and maybe try some of those for yourself and consider hiring a coach for sure. So without further ado, we're going to start. First of all, Ian, what did your life look like before starting to work with me?
Okay, yeah. I mean, first of all, you're absolutely right. We've just been doing this series together. You can't help learning. I'm just kind of acting like one of the listeners, one of the viewers, really. And this is what I see my role as in this podcast, to just try and draw things out, to try and put scenarios that people are thinking about, and actually also to be myself and say how it is for me. So yes, there has been a learning. So to answer the question, I won't delay every question like this throughout the podcast, but I just wanted to say that at the beginning. So I think for me, what did life look like before that? It's probably putting up with things the way they are and just resigning to I just don't have control over lots of stuff, and just resigning to that and thinking, well, that's it. There's no way out. Let's just make the best of what we've got, sort of thing. And life can't be any better. It's the way it is, and
I can't help it. This is how it is.
I can't help it. And as I said last week, we were talking about work and things at one point. I said, work is just your work. You shouldn't enjoy it. It's not there for enjoyment. It's not there to light you up. It's work. Get on with it. Whack sort of thing.
Where do you think where this sort of mindset have come from?
I think that comes from my early days, from my upbringing. You have to go out to work, and one day you all have to go out to work like we do, and nobody wants to do it, but we have to do it because you have to earn money and you have to live. And it was never ever. And also, you must go to school, else we'll get put in prison. It's just something to get through, and then I can get home, and then I can play football, and then I can do what I want to do, and then tomorrow I got to face it all again, and then the bell goes at 3:00, I can go home, and life begins at 3:00, sort of thing. And I think it's just drummed into me that this is just something mundane that everybody has to put up with. You've got to do it, and it's a drag.
Okay. I mean, by the way, just a side note, we are not suggesting anyone not to do work or not to go to school or anything like that.
No, absolutely
but
not.
What we are trying to, Ian was very nicely indicating and trying to
Yeah.
explain is that this is the kind of the way that it's been drilled into us from an early age that creates this kind of anti-work, anti-school, anti-whatever, and this whole thing, work, life, life.
Yeah.
Right?
Instead of just life.
Life with all
so
the things.
You're absolutely right, Chula. We're not supporting not doing these things. We're telling you why, you know, my attitude towards it is bad. And that answers your question. What was life like before working with a coach?
Sure. So, and what was it that you were specifically struggling with, and what wasn't working for you really in that situation?
Good question. I think not feeling like there was time to do the things that I really wanted to do, you know, because you're spending so much time in this prison slavery type day
that you created, you know, in your head.
Yes, that's right. That had been created for me by people that had drummed it into me. Abdicate responsibility.
Yeah, well, but then you bought into it, didn't you, without realizing
it? That's right. I bought into it. You know, how often do we buy into these things without thinking about it? If only I would have just stopped to actually really think about this and just look around. You know, there were other people in my class that thought school was great, and you could see their attitude was different. So actually it didn't have to be, you know, I was quite an observant child. I was quite, you know, on the ball. It wasn't that I struggled. I didn't struggle with school. I mean, from the time we started doing exams, I would be, and I'm not boasting or waving my own flag here, but I was up and, you know, usually first, second or third in the class with exams. And, you know, because I could do it, I had the ability to do it. So it wasn't as though I was struggling with the work and therefore I had a good reason to not want to be at school. It was just this idea of it being a drag, excuse me. But yeah, you know, I bought into it. So I think, you know, not feeling like there was enough time, you know, what was life, what was I struggling with, you know, what was not working, just the feeling of not being able to be living the life that I wanted to live and perhaps being the person that I wanted to be, really.
Okay. So, and things have obviously changed. So what does it look like for you now? What is kind of your attitude or feeling towards it?
I think, you know, I've learned that the things that we do, well, let's put it this way. I think a separation between the things that I can and cannot control. Okay. Gives you a slightly different mindset. So again, you know, it's the way you look at these. We said, you know, we're not telling people not to go to school, not to go to work. It's about the attitude that you have and buying into that thing. But that's something that you can't control in a way, because we do all need to go to school. We do all need to go to work to earn money. It's absolutely fact. I wasn't lied to. It just wasn't presented to me as a child in a very attractive way. And I kind of just thought, well, I've got to buy into it. But now I'm thinking, actually, no, you don't have to buy into the, you know, you really need to sort of think, yes, there are compulsory things that we all need to do in life. We all need to follow the law and, you know, abide by it, etc. When I go out in the car, I need, in this country, to drive on the left-hand side of the road. In other countries, drive on the right-hand side of the road. Whichever country you're in, you drive on the side of the road that is the law for that country. And you don't just think, oh, please myself, I'll pick what side of the road I want. You know, it's my car, my journey. You know, you can't be like that about that. So it's distinguishing what you can control and what you can't, and just having the right attitude to the stuff that you can't control. And this is where my kind of word of surrender comes in. I said in the first answer, you know, I kind of resigned to the fact that that's how things were. Well, surrender for me is, you know, this is what life looks like now. It's about surrendering to those things that you can't control and really now focusing on the things that I can. You know, and that's one of the things that I've learned through doing these sessions with yourself, July, that, you know, there is a difference there.
There is. And then we will link that episode where we talked about our power word of the year and how is that going to affect us. I will put that in the link of this episode so people can go back and listen the distinction between surrender and you know, giving your power, or whatever the word.
Yeah, that's right. There is a difference, and we have done an episode. That'd be great if we can link people back to that. Fantastic. Sure. I like that. Yeah.
So Yeah. Okay. Carry on.
I think that's it. I think
That's it.
that's how life is now. Yeah.
How life is now. But what is the biggest change versus before? I really want you to be explicit about what was that biggest change versus before.
I think this brings out perhaps another problem that I've had for perhaps too long in my life here. If we're being open and honest here. I'm wearing my heart on my sleeve today because
Okay.
this is going to help people, and that's what we want to do. And that's
Sure.
the idea of taking this sort of rain check on me, really, as an example of somebody. So I feel that a lot of my life I've needed to get permission to do things.
Oh, wow.
So I what's the biggest change? I think I've started to feel, I have got to the point where I feel, well, I don't need permission or buy-in from people necessarily to do things. I mean, I know I can't sort of just I don't know, I think a silly example, go and wash next door's car. I mean, why would I go and do that? I've got my own car to clean, and the neighbour comes out and sees me clean. They'll say, here, I'll come and clean mine. So that'll
Mine
give
needs
me
cleaning if
permission
you want.
anyway. Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So I don't need your permission.
Yeah.
But I'm not going to just go and do that because, I would need their permission. It's their car. I would need permission to wash it if I
I know what you
really
mean. I know
wanted
what you
to.
mean.
Yeah.
I know what you mean.
So there are still things that, it's not a carte blanche free, do what you like, but just doing stuff, perhaps doing things on the radio show, not needing to check, just do these things, just, get ideas, and just do things. So I think, that in a way is kind of one of the biggest change. I don't think we focused on that particularly, but again, this is an example of where just asking all these questions, being in the mode of talking to a coach and just exploring these things, then, other things will come up. We talked last week about writing down the things that you don't want in your life. And eventually it kind of leads into you writing the stuff that you do want. And I'm thinking, all right, we talked about that last week. If you want to know more, go and listen and watch last week's episode again. But that's something that's come out for me. So I think, just being able to think that, the ideas that I've got and the things I want to do are as equally important as what anybody else wants to do. And we want to help people. We want to work with people. We're brought up to, even to love others more than we love ourselves. And I think, these are good traits and whatever. And we have, again, talked about this, loving yourself is fine. It's not a problem. Like we've said, there are things that you would say to yourself that you wouldn't say to your best friend.
Right. Okay.
So why say it to yourself? We do need. So yeah, I'm as important as anybody else. I'm not more important than anybody. I'm not less important. I have a life. And, I've been given a life. There's the old joke, isn't there, about conception? There was 300 million sperm and I made it through.
Yeah.
So, wow, I'm special. I made it through out
Well,
of
you
all
are
those
special.
million.
I know we're
But
kind of
yeah,
joking, but it is true. It is a special, and it is kind of, there's a whole deeper
yeah.
spiritual impact we have
That's
chosen to
right.
be
If
here.
you're
And
here, if we're here and we've made it and we're living, then we are special and we're
yeah,
entitled. I'm going to mention this later as well, to the peace and joy and love and the best experience that life in all its fullness, really.
So this was asking for permission. So you've kind of let yourself free of that external pressure and whatever. And
Yes, that's right.
it's
Yeah, because
great.
it's debilitating. If you've got
It
to
is.
wait for somebody to say, yeah, that's okay. Yeah, that's okay. You
And the
could
thing
be.
is, because we are so conditioned to do this at work or whatever,
Yeah.
or from an early age for that matter,
Yes. Yeah.
we do that in our own life to ourselves without even realizing it. So it's a great point, and we will cover this in another episode for sure.
Okay,
So that's
great.
great.
Yeah. And
So
again, we're not telling kids or people, disobey your parents, disobey the police, disobey your managers. That's not what it's about. It's about that feeling of entitlement that actually, you are of value as much as anybody else, and you can bring your ideas forward. I'll give you another silly example of something that I did at work once, which is very weak. And I don't like, particularly us men don't like being weak.
Yeah.
We're not weak creatures, us men. We're tough, macho guys. But I was sitting in a meeting at work thinking about this great idea. I'm thinking, why is my boss not suggesting or saying this? Why is he not talking to the meeting about it? I mean, why didn't I do it?
Why didn't you do it? Exactly. Maybe it didn't
Because
even cross his mind.
that's right. But to me, it was obvious. It was the
Mm.
obvious thing for our team to be suggesting and saying or volunteering to do. So why wasn't he doing it? And I'm sitting there willing him, come on, Paul, come on, say it, say it, say it. And it's, you know, but I don't say it.
Yeah, why
Because I
didn't you
guess,
say it? That's
well,
funny.
nobody gave me permission to do so.
Yeah, wow, that's amazing.
You know?
That is really good. And so as a result, then what is the biggest realization as a person in yourself? What is it that really,
Yeah, the
as a
biggest
result of
realization.
yeah.
Right. Yeah. I mean, this is, you know, this is learning coming straight from the conversations we've had, really.
Yeah.
And I'm going to answer the question in these terms, saying that it's the fact that the brain will do what you tell it to do,
Yes.
and the brain will actually believe you.
Yeah.
We touched again, I think, on it last week, and
Yeah,
we've
we
touched
did.
on it before in other episodes as well. But, you know, it's the way you're talking to yourself. It's what you're telling your brain. If you know, I had an opportunity to work during my last few years because my main job went to Central Europe and I had to find other things to do. And one of the opportunities I had was to actually go downstairs. Bear in mind, I worked in an office for all my life, to actually go downstairs and be a forklift truck driver. And I did. I retrained to drive a forklift truck and spent a couple of years doing that. But the first time they suggested it, I thought, well, I can't do that. But actually, sort of 30 seconds later, I thought, well, yes, I can. I'll be given training and whatever. And it's this whole thing about just changing what you tell your mind. And as soon as I told my mind, yes, you can, you know, you'll have training and stuff. You're not just going to be, right, there's the truck, carry on.
Off you go.
What? Okay. I mean, that would be just totally dangerous. I mean, it's a killing, you know, a forklift truck is a killing machine.
They won't do that.
You know
Yeah.
what you're doing. But once you start telling your brain something sensible, or stop telling it something stupid like, oh, I can't do that. No, fine, you can't here. You haven't been trained how to do it. Of course you can't do it, you fool. But I can be trained to do it. So it's telling yourself the right thing. So that, I mean, that was back then, but even now I might be telling myself, you know, my ideas are good. I can make them work.
Yeah. How can I make them work? Even putting in a different, you know, again, we said many times, what questions you ask, the quality of the questions you ask will determine the quality of the outcomes, isn't it?
That's right. So I think that's, you know, that's the biggest realization for me. Telling the brain what's, you know, or what you tell it, it will believe. So tell it good things, basically. That's what I've learned to do. Yeah.
Amazing. So how would you describe how specifically I helped you?
Oh my goodness. Yeah. See, on the spot here. How have you helped me specifically? I think the biggest way probably in just having the conversation is trying to be more in the moment. It's helped me to realize that one of the things I like doing is dog walking, but even when I'm out on the dog walking, I can find myself thinking about problems and solutions. And actually, you know, by the time I got the other side of the field, I've almost got no recall of the journey to the other side of the field with the dog, you know, because I've been thinking about other stuff. So get out, you know, if you're out and about in the lovely outdoor, which I really enjoy, then look around, take it in, be in the moment. And, you know, if you're in a crowd of people, be in the moment. Don't be distracted by other stuff, but, you know, live life more in the moment. I think is
that something you specifically got from me, as in?
Yes, it is. It is really, yes.
Okay.
Yeah. So that's, you know, and that specific, it's just making you think about things. Again, what I said earlier to one of the earlier questions, what you can control and what you can't control, and just making you realize where to put your energy as well, I think. And that makes me think of negative energy. I wish you've talked about negative energy, and that's really struck a bell with me, because I've looked back and applied that concept that you've taught me back over working life, if you like, historic working life, and thought, look how much negative energy I've put up with, and how things could have been so much better if I'd have realized it was negative energy, and I could have turned that into more positive energy.
Yeah, and the thing is, not only do we put up with it, we also absorb it. Talking of myself, I not only put up with it, I absorbed most of it.
Yeah.
I was physically almost in the mind didn't want to put up with it, but ended up absorbing it, which of course even worse, as we
Yeah.
know, it manifests into other things. So it's great that
That's right. I was going to talk about that a bit later, actually, if
okay,
there's time.
sure,
But yeah,
there is
yeah,
time. So I
great.
guess
Any more
specifically,
questions for me? Yeah, go on.
you know, working with me as a coach specifically, I know perhaps you've had other people, other teachers, other people that you work with. What specifically that helps, you know, if you were to suggest me as a coach to someone,
I
what are the
think, yeah,
one quality that you would think that I bring to the party, if you like,
yeah.
than
So sort of the
anyone else?
experience of working with you then,
Yeah,
really. Is
yeah.
that what you get at you
Mm-hmm.
specifically? Yeah. Well, first of all, it's great fun. You
Yeah.
know, you've got this, we've got this good approach, I think, together that we, you know, it's a kind, it's light-hearted in the way we present things, but, you know, we're talking about serious stuff that we really want to help people
Yeah.
with, but we're just not doing it like, welcome to the show and in this textbook today. You know, it's not a serious business. It's a limit. So, you know, you can engage, you can identify, you can work. And I think with you, you're very real because you are not being the textbook. You are only really talking about stuff that you've experienced yourself.
Yeah.
It's like the old riding the bike. How do you learn to ride a bike? You read a book about it and you never get on a bike. No, reverse that. You know, you get on the bike, you fall off, you scrape your knee. You don't read a textbook on how to do it. And that's like you work from your own experience, from your life, from your own issues, your own life experience, your own difficulties, your own victories and successes. It all comes, basically, it all comes from the heart, and therefore it's genuine and it's real. Excuse me, it's real. And yeah, that's what we need. We need somebody like that.
My coach says actually what's most general is most specific because you know, you might think you are the only one going through these problems.
Yes.
But you're not. Most people
That's
are going
right.
through the same problems, and me
Well,
having
yeah,
to have gone through those problems, and you probably have the same
that's
because we've
right.
worked in the same place in different
Exactly.
offices,
Yeah.
whatever. We can resonate, we can relate to all of that in different contexts, of course,
Yes, that's
but
right. Yeah.
the type of stuff we've gone through were the same. So I think that makes it the best experience to work with someone like you, someone who you can relate to in a light-hearted way,
Yeah.
without having to take everything so seriously, but also taking it seriously enough
Yes.
to create a
Yeah.
change. So
Well, that's it. It's serious stuff enough. We just present it. You know, if you present things in a light-hearted way, it's easier for people to take on board, and it's more entertaining, and you know they'll gel better with it. So
okay, so if you recommend, why would you recommend anyone to work with a coach?
I would recommend, I recommend they work with you because, you know, what we do on the podcast here is, I'm going to say generic in inverted commas. It's me trying to ask the questions that I think the listeners and the viewers are wanting to ask. And I think you know, trying to make the comments and the life experience that will resonate with them. So you can come along and correct, you know, give us the correct perspective on that. And people should indeed keep listening and keep listening to all the episodes and keep benefiting and subscribe to this YouTube channel, definitely. But you know what you can do on top of that is you can offer personal input. As I said, I tried to mimic the listeners and the viewers, but you know, maybe there are people listening to the conversation and they're saying something like, well, if I was Ian and talking to Chulai, I'd say or ask, you know, XYZ question at this point, but you know, Ian hasn't done that. What's the matter with him? Why has he not asked or commented on that? Well, they can. They can
that is
have this
their opportunity, isn't it?
one-to-one relationship with you as well, can't they? You know, they can book into you, and you can do that personal thing where they can ask you all the stuff. You know, maybe lots and lots of questions do come up, and we don't cover all the things that people want to do. We are trying to cover the questions that matter to people, that really need answers to, that will really help and take people forward. But So yes, I would recommend people do take the opportunity and spend time with yourself, because you are real and real experience, and you actually desire to get into the individual, what really that individual needs. So you're willing to take the time and ask the right questions and give the time and space to really help that person to get their breakthrough, I think is a good word.
Thank you, Ian, for your kind words. So if you were to summarize like in 4 points, what are the 4 things that you learned with working in the last 4 years? 4 is the magic number today.
My goodness, I think it's that we have more power than we think. Our brain is a lot more powerful. We probably don't use as much of the brain as we could be using. I think to acknowledge that we have strengths and weaknesses. Okay, so as we've been talking about all the different topics, then I think, well, I've got strengths and weaknesses. And another thing, I wish I'd have identified negative energy back in my day, but I wish I'd have also pushed more to play to my strengths and not believed so much about all these development opportunities. They're not, well, they might be development opportunities, but they're weaknesses. So isn't it better to play to your strengths? I just think it's better to play to your strengths. And I think that's something that I've learned in all the things that we've been talking, to give you the life and experience that you really wish for yourself. Play into your strengths, avoiding the negative energy, acknowledging your weaknesses, but not thinking of them as development opportunities that you must work on and you must crack these weaknesses so you become stronger. No, I think increase your strengths is something that I was. So that's that's 2. I think what you focus on grows in you. There's certain key phrases that I've picked up on, so I'm going to pick all these up in point number 3. What you focus on grows in you. So focus on the stuff that you want to grow in you, and not in the rubbish. Mental health impacts physical health. That's been a real surprise to me. That's something that's come out in 1 or 2 of the episodes we've talked about. That's been a bit of a surprise. Another favorite is sitting on the nail.
I love that.
Dog sitting on the nail. Yes, it's painful, but it's even more painful to get off and walk around with the hole in the cat sort of thing.
Which is the delusion that we're all in, isn't it?
Yeah.
And when you say it like that, you're just like, what? How is that possible?
I know.
Dog is sitting on a nail crying. And it's a big.
So these little things are so there's been little key phrases. That's the sort of the third thing I want to talk about, really. Is there any others? There was sitting on the nail, 4. Focus on growing you. I'm sure negative energy. There will be others I would have forgotten, really. And I think we're all kind of, everybody is looking for different things, but we all want to feel at peace. We want that peace, joy, and love. We all want those things really maximized in our lives. Even us tough macho men want that as well. It's it's not airy fairy, wishy-washy. It's something that we've been designed to need as human beings. It's part of our design. And in finding the whole thing, finding serenity in the midst of chaos. That's what we call the podcast. So it's saying, yes, it's acknowledging that there is chaos and carnage and stuff going on around, but we can find serenity. We can find that peace, love, and joy. And joy isn't being, I'm at a party. That's happiness sort of thing. But joy is more of a deep down satisfaction of almost absence of cynicism. Almost. There's something to think about. If you're not sarcastic or full of cynicism, then you have joy, I suppose.
I get it. And
so these are I think that kind of summarizes in a
that's
general.
Fantastic. And it's the last point I love, because knowing that that's kind of our birthright, and it is a choice. It's a choice, because like you said, the chaos is gonna go on no matter what we do. It's outside of us. We either buy into it and become part of the chaos, or we just accept that it exists, but we choose how we are being within that chaos.
Within it.
Because we are not going to create more joy or more impact in the world by becoming part of the chaos. Instead, we choose serenity, and only then we become the light that lights everyone else up. to bring everyone else to serenity. The only way we're going to stop chaos is not becoming part of it. So, well, it's been great talking with you, and hopefully we'll continue, Ian. Thank you
Well, of
for
course,
sharing your
yeah.
insights. It really, really
That's good.
amazing.
Yeah, no, I think time to do that, and I really hope that has helped people. That's the purpose of it, isn't it?
Yeah.
Really, to sort of see to encourage people that you can go on a journey, and it's not weird, it's not out there, it's down to earth, and it's kind of what we all want, and we all want those sort of common things, on which we can get in different ways. We're all very different. This is what I'm encouraging my son Daniel. I mentioned him last week, doing his A levels at the moment, doesn't know quite what he wants to do, but we're asking a different question. What does he want to be? What person does he want to be? How does he want to feel about what he's doing? Just as we were talking last week, Shirai. And so, you know, these things are real, and we need to real. So I really do hope that has helped somebody further on today.
Yeah, and just I want to leave everyone with the thought that if you can get this from just the free stuff that I'm giving away, just by talking, imagine what you will get from actually tailored to you, to your context and paid program, when you really invest your time, effort, and commitment into this, as well as I do. It's going to be mind-blowing what you actually experience, and we want that for everybody. And we encourage you to find a way to do that. And I'll put all the details how you can get in touch with me, to work with me, at least to explore what it would look like for you to work with me. So yeah, but thanks again, Ian, and speak to you next week.